Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vinay Raghunath. I'm a partner at EY focused on industrial goods. It's an interesting topic that we're here to discuss today, Make in India, and how we can continue to strengthen India's presence in the E&P space. I'm joined by an esteemed panel here, and I'd like to quickly introduce them for you. We've got Dr. Srikant Nagulapalli from the DGH. He's the Director General there. We've got Anne-Gaëlle MOYSAN, who's Procurement Vice President Procurement at TotalEnergies. We've got Vikas, who is the MD of BPRL, Bharat PetroResources Limited. We've got Scott Sandlin, who's the India country chair at ExxonMobil. And we'll shortly be joined by Akhil Mehrotra, who is tied up at another panel discussion but should be joining us in about 5-10 minutes. He's the MD of Pipeline Infrastructure Limited. Now, the topic that we're going to discuss today is largely focused on how um, India's long-term strategy is to strengthen its domestic oil and gas equipment manufacturing and its EPC services ecosystem, and how we can get more players and how we can get a greater share of the global market on both the equipment and the services side. There are multiple policy interventions, multiple things required from the buying side globally, as well as multiple investments required from suppliers in India. And we'll touch upon all three aspects, the policy aspects. uh, what will it take for the Indian brand to be seen as a stronger player in the eyes of global buyers? And the supplier side, what will it take to get greater investment into this ecosystem from a supplier standpoint? But if I can start with Dr. Srikant first and ask you a question. Over the recent past, we've seen India trying to reshape its entire exploration strategy. And we're looking at now going beyond and accessing deep water, ultra deep water exploration. What are your points of view on some of the policy interventions that the government has initiated to strengthen this? And also, what steps do you think are being taken to ensure that capability is being prioritized locally?
Thank you, Vinay. If you look at India's exploration strategy, there's been a big shift in the way India has been thinking about exploration. It has moved from land based and shallow water exploration. It's moving towards deep water, ultra deep water, frontier basin exploration. And the entire policy, regulation, contracts, everything is being built around this new change in direction. And the Samudra Manthan and its focus in particularly Andhra and Andaman Nicobar areas. This is a signal that there's been a shift. Also, the current round of open acreage licensing policy, where almost 19 out of 25 blocks on offer are offshore, also signals this shift in policy. If you look at the strategy, there are three key elements. One is unlocking areas, then second is in investor centric policies, and third is establishing a good supply chain for this entire new strategy. If you look at unlocking areas, hitherto we have been exploring about 10% of the 3.4 million square kilometers of the basin area that we have. Now the government has opened up 1 million square kilometers of former no-go areas, and it's a big canvas for all the E&P operators to come and explore and produce. Secondly, the policies that have been put in place are very investor friendly. In fact, the feedback has been obtained from various operators, and based on the feedback, the act has been amended. New rules have been put in place, and the contract also has been amended. If you see, there's a single license which covers most of the liquid and gaseous hydrocarbons, and the tenure of the contract is 30 years, extendable till end of life. There is a protection for against change in law, which was hitherto absent, and this is hard coded in the act as well. A neutral seat of arbitration is provided. There's a provision for integrated development of integrated energy projects, and also joint development of common infrastructure. So all these things have been put in place to facilitate investors, and the government also plans to bring out uh, a manufacturing policy for kickstarting the entire process. Once the exploration goes forward, we also need supply chain to be in place with domestic manufacturing focused supply chain. So this is broadly the way we are moving.
No, clearly, quite a few interventions on the policy side, and we're seeing that at play. Vikas, if I can come to you, I know he mentioned about the Samudra Manthan deep water mission also, but before that, you've worked internationally in Brazil, even an exciting country called Venezuela and the UAE. But if you look at the experiences that you've had in the past, are there any case studies on localization that you believe can help India from a upstream perspective?
Thank you, Vinay. First of all, we are speaking on Make in India, and we are sitting in such a beautiful. Uh, I
Building,
just
yeah.
wanted to compliment both ONGC and EIL for making such a big thing here in Goa, which truly symbolizes the Make in India perspective. And we are sitting here in this hall. Coming back to your question, and Dr. Srikant is here. So we have very closely looked at the localization efforts worldwide, especially in Brazil, the Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UK, and Norway. And what I can tell is that we have seen that where there is a domestic supply chain, where there is an agile domestic supply chain, the costs come down by around 10 to 25%, and that's all there. And you can get the production early by around 16 to 18 months. So that's a huge positive. So what started in Brazil, and I still remember I was there sitting in 2006 in Rio, putting in bids with a local content. They had put in the local content in the host government contracts, and it was one of the biddable parameters, and we were bidding at 60%, 70%, 80%. So actually that got Brazil behind, but by 2014-15, no one was able to match those local content percentages. So actually that boomeranged. But having said that, Brazil has now worked around. But then, specifically coming back to Qatar and Saudi Arabia, which have been very successful, what we have seen is that it's a government body that gives some sort of numbers to all the bidders, and then when you bid out, that's one of the BC, the bid parameters while you are evaluating. So actually, it's now a capability-based assessment more than what was there in the contracts. Having said that, now in Samudra Manthan, sir, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are looking at hundreds of billions of expenditure in the next few years, offshore India. And we don't have any supply chain in offshore, it's all onshore. So, offshore, we need to build a lot of supply chain. And we need to see from the perspective of host government contract, how can we get a agile domestic supply chain offshore India if we have to see the success of Samudra Manthan.
Thanks, Vikas. Scott, I know we conspired to make you sit next to Vikas. The two of you are from competing universities in Texas, but
Very true.
but we spoke about policy. We spoke a little bit about global case studies. But as you see the global landscape, what led ExxonMobil to start leveraging Indian capabilities, Indian suppliers as part of its own buying strategy and procurement processes? And in addition to that, going forward, where do you see an opportunity for Indian players as you look at capabilities sitting out of Bangalore as you do?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Vinay, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I think let me start with a little bit of context about ExxonMobil's history here in India and our journey. So ExxonMobil has been here for over a century. We started providing liquid fuels in the early decades of the 20th century. We started providing lubricants in the early 1960s. And in the late 90s, we helped pioneer the LNG market here with the initial LNG supplies starting in 2004. We've been steadily growing our business here over the last 3 decades, I would say, but what has become incredibly clear to ExxonMobil over the course of the last few years is that India is a strategic growth opportunity for us in ExxonMobil globally. India is incredibly important to ExxonMobil for many reasons, but particularly when I think about the incredible depth of talent in this country, I think about the incredible market growth as India continues its very impressive, growth journey. And frankly, when I look at the strengths of ExxonMobil, our scale, our integration, our global capabilities, I see a perfect match and a strategic fit with India's national priorities in helping to advance Viksit Bharat 2047. So we have been, over the last 10 years or so, leveraging Indian talent to help make our global businesses more efficient. In our Global Capability Center in Bangalore, we have grown that GCC over 20% last year, and we intend to continue that same rate and pace as we go forward in the years ahead. India is unique within ExxonMobil in that there are very few places that touch all elements of our global businesses, our value chains, and our centralized organizations. There's Houston and there's India that touch all elements of it. And in our journey of going through and leveraging the talent here to make our global businesses more efficient, it has become very clear that our global capability of industry-leading project execution is a perfect fit for Make in India. Let me unpack that a little bit more. So ExxonMobil globally will spend $20 to $25 billion investing in capital investments around the world. A large majority of that is in the fabrication of equipment and infrastructure, supporting our multi-billion-dollar projects. Since about 2010, we have manufactured some equipment in India. Last 2 years, just under $100 million. But we see a significant opportunity to scale that dramatically into the billions here in the years ahead. Very confident in India's ability to do that. One of the areas that helps make us so confident is our lubricants plant in Maharashtra that we have just finished construction on and will be starting up in the coming months. And that plant was engineered, procured, and constructed with 100% Indian content minus one thing. And so incredibly a great confidence booster for us in why we feel so strongly about making in India. India has what it takes to be successful. There is no doubt, crystal clear.
No,
You think about the talent, you think about the skilled workforce, you think about the increasing connectivity and growing supply chain resilience. Think about the industry, the leading industrial manufacturers that have proven track record for constructing high quality and complicated fabrications. And all of that comes together to result in lower operating costs that drive more efficient businesses. So it makes perfect sense, and we see a very strong fit here in helping to advance Viksit Bharat 2047. It is the right time to be making in India, there is no doubt.
It's a strong vote of confidence, Scott, and I think a piece that a lot of suppliers who are sitting on the fence thinking about capital investment should definitely listen to. But Anne-Gaëlle, if I come to you, I'm sure you concur with some of what Scott has said in terms of capabilities. But you sit buying procurement on a daily basis for projects and services. What would it take for an Indian supplier to get a greater share of wallet from the buying that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis?
No, thank you for the question and inviting us. Just to give some context, TotalEnergies is a multi-energy company, more than 100 years, a century, a bit like Exxon, working in 100 countries. And we realized, I think, over the last few years that we have been working with our historical suppliers, always the same, and I think it's easy. You are in your comfort zone. But the world is changing, the energy growth, the energy demand is tremendous, including the India boom in terms of energy and exploration, I guess. And we have all the geopolitical changes that we see, and we really need to build a resilient supply chain, robust and competitive to deliver affordable energy. So what we see as strength in India in terms of supply chain, definitely the talent, skilled laborers, manufacturing capacities, but the capability or the potential to scale up. And we see here in Goa, I would say, but everywhere in India, the scale-up is really large. And definitely the affordability and competitiveness of the supply chain. So these are the key strengths we foresee. And for that, what we did in TotalEnergies, we challenged ourselves. We are spending, I would say, close to 14 to 15 billion capital investment over each year. And at least in my team, or in the procurement, it's close to $25 billion of goods and services per year, globally. So the way we are trying to onboard India, definitely digital, we are doing a lot. Engineering, we are expanding because we have the talent. From the manufacturing and EPC services perspective, I would say we are a bit behind, and we really need to accelerate this one. The challenge I see for the time being might be to find the good balance between the domestic market, because Indian players need to serve Indian strategy, and the global view, global strategy, and to go outside. And how we can together find the right balance, diversification on our side, how we can onboard Indian players, and diversification for the suppliers, how they can have shares with other operators outside India potentially. So this is where we stand, and for that we implemented few, I would say, key steps, key principles. One is to leverage our EPC contractor supply chain, how we can rely on the EPC contractor and not instruct them to use the only happy few we were used to work with. Another one is to simplify our qualification process. We really want to see the track records the Indian suppliers have with our peers, IOC, NOC, and we need to use that to capitalize on these elements to onboard them. So we did all these steps together and within TotalEnergies and with our EPC contractor, and I think this is a key to accelerate the onboarding of Indian suppliers.
Thanks. Akhil, if I can come to you next, we heard about some of the policy changes that are driving a shift towards exploration as a bigger theme. We also heard about some global use cases which make sure that the business case for the investment is positive. And of course, we heard millions going to billions from Scott and Anne. But if I were to ask you, all this focus on exploration is going to create the demand for a lot of infrastructure when it comes to storage, logistics, a whole host of elements at that end of the value chain. What do you think the focus should be from a India standpoint, and what capabilities do you think one should focus on as we scale up in the infrastructure from a logistics and a storage standpoint?
Sure. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here. And my apologies for being late. I was in a round table with Minister Puri, so went a little
No,
late.
we
Yeah,
understand.
thank you. I think let me take you back in history when this whole supply chain constraint started. I think that was during COVID, and unfortunately, we have not been back on track since then. Kind of, we run a lot of businesses, and we have seen that whether it is supply of infrastructure, whether it's for upstream, midstream, downstream, the kind of lead times are gone to what, 3 years, 4 years, kind of. Which now, if you are looking at setting up billions of dollars, as Mr. Modi and Minister also declared, I think where do we get our infra products? Where do I get our rotating machines to produce and so forth? Now, let me give an example of our company, and we are into midstream. So, what we did post COVID, and that will help understand what we can do in India, is we try to diversify our supply chain. Right, one, as a company, we diversified our supply chain across geographies. Try to indigenize a lot of things which can be produced in India, because not everything can be produced even if you have capabilities, and I'll come to that. Whatever can be indigenized on a small scale basis, we have tried to help small scale vendors to develop their capabilities in various product lines, so that they slowly have built up their capability. So that's one. However, to really build all these products on scale and all develop this infrastructure and get this from India, and whether it is if we talk of upstream, all these platforms or FPSOs which come from Korea and all, I think the government has taken the first step towards having ports, where shipbuilding and all. We need to do a few more things. Kind of, one is a little bit more effort toward ease of doing business, approval process. Can that be much faster? Two, I don't think we still have the real skill set to manufacture all this. We need to scale up the skill set of our kind of people in some of these specific areas, maybe on a smaller scale, do that. So once we do that, I think we will have these manufacturings coming. And third, if we have to be really leading in this space, I don't think we are spending any money on R&D. So can we, that's totally missing. We can still bring a product from outside, license it, still do it, but from a long-term basis, my view would be, can we do also something on R&D? So these are a few things we say: skill up people, spend more on R&D. Meantime, try to indigenize things, and till we can't do it, source it from multiple geographies, so that you neutralize the geopolitical risk, if I can say that.
Of course. No, as you spoke of de-risking, you hit a interesting word, shipbuilding. And if I can go to Scott, maybe you, there are parallels in value chains across industries. And if I were to look at multiple industries, sometimes the investment that goes into building capabilities for our industry can be leveraged across multiple industries. Do you have any thoughts on how that will help make the business more viable and make the Indian ecosystem stronger by cross-leveraging capabilities across multiple industries?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, the short answer is there are incredible synergies between shipbuilding and building of oil and gas energy equipment. And when you think about the supply chains are the same, the infrastructure is the same, the skilled workforce required is the same. And when you look at the manufacturing process, it is the same. So in modern shipbuilding, ships are built in modules that are then like big Lego blocks fitted together to make big ships. Well, that is exactly how we like to build oil and gas related equipment. So we build mega modules that are then, they're fabricated and then shipped to location, fitted together, connected, and resulting in refineries, petrochemical plants, gas plants, et cetera. So there are incredible synergies. ExxonMobil desires to build about 350,000 metric tons of mega modules over a 5-year period, and we would love for that to be done right here in India. For context, that 350,000 metric tons is about equivalent to 7 VLCC, or very large crude carrying ships. India has what it takes. There are things that we need to continue to work together to make sure we can fully unlock the potential, and particularly the synergistic opportunities across the shipbuilding and the oil and gas equipment. So continuing to invest in the skilled workforce, I fully agree. And I think about welders as one great example, high quality welders that are required on to both types of fabrication. I think being very coordinated and focused in the infrastructure build out, that things like shipyards, fab yards, ports, road and rail connectivity, doing it in a way that you unlock the
Integrated.
synergies across both. And I think about providing a stable and predictable transfer price mechanisms so that global corporations have clarity on what their tax liability is. And that clarity is super important because it gives global corporations the confidence to fully deploy their capabilities and their capital in such an important space that helps, we believe, significantly multiply the advance forward on Viksit Bharat 2047. So absolute synergies and priorities. I'm encouraged and inspired, frankly, with the Honorable Prime Minister's message to us 2 days ago, where he talks about Make in India. He talks about the shipbuilding focus, and particularly around LNG carriers, and very pleased and encouraged that he sees the same opportunity that we do, and we look forward to being a part of the journey to figure out how to work together and unlock those synergies.
Got it. I mean, we've heard optimism from you and the ability to cross leverage across industries, but I think as we look forward to Viksit Bharat, Dr. Srikant, if I were to ask you a couple of questions around the future and the present. One is we've seen a lot of action on current policy, current bids, whether you look at the special CBMs or you look at the DSF4 or you look at the OLAP 10 bidding rounds. The first question is maybe what are the changes that you've seen articulated today which are different from similar policy frameworks in the past, and maybe leading into as we look at the next 20 years, what do you think should be significant policy focus for India to ensure that all of what we've just discussed plays out?
So if you look at the current bid rounds, the OILP is the largest acreage on offer till date. Almost 182,000 square kilometers of acreage is being offered. And there are a lot of incentives being provided under this. For example, the marketing and pricing freedom has been provided. There's no oil cess. There are early monetization incentives. A host of other incentives have already been provided based on the previous feedback that has been gathered. And importantly, these bid blocks are backed by solid data which have been analyzed by international experts, and those reports are also made available for prospective bidders. So it's a very big bidding round insofar as OALP is concerned. Coming to the discovered small field policy, one of the concerns that we have noted is that the monetization of these fields has been slow. So a lot of effort has been made to ensure that the monetization happens quickly in this bid round. If you see, there's been a lot of bundling of the discoveries. Almost 55 discoveries have been bundled into 9 areas. And there is also flexibility in terms of the committed wells, committed work program. They're not looked at discovery wise, rather they're looked at area wise. So that's another change that we have made. And the development period also is extendable, provided there is a discovery. And so this monetization would help extend the period up to 10 years, either on land or offshore. So that's another change. And the early monetization incentives, as I've mentioned, they are also in place. And the most importantly, the data accessibility is also very important. We have made quality data accessible. Coming to the uh, coal bed methane rounds, here the by and large the concerns which were expressed have greatly been addressed in terms of quick monetization of these assets as well. So overall, if you see, the regulatory stability has been brought in place. That's a big change. And we are also gathering inputs from various bidders, so that if there are any last minute changes that are required, we are willing to look at them as well.
Now that flexibility will be useful. Because if I can just link back to this question, there's obviously a lot of acreage coming up, a whole host of exploration that will happen, and potentially resulting in a bullwhip effect on the rest of the supply chain. But if you look at domestic supply chain players, what would your recommendations be to someone to become a little more agile to be able to capture this boom that is anticipated over the next few years?
Before coming to that, I would take up from Scott was saying on the shipbuilding and linking it to Samudra Manthan. Now, look, Samudra Manthan is offshore. Offshore development needs FPSOs. It's a low hanging fruit. Current estimates for the next 10 years are at least 40 to 50 FPSOs are required worldwide. 50 FPSOs means a minimum of 100 billion US dollars over the period of next 10 years, 100 to 150 billion US dollars. Right now, we are making FPSOs in China, the Korea, and some in Singapore. All of them have problems. Why can't we get some of it to India? Even a 10-15% of that value chain to India, we are looking at 10 to 15 billion US dollars in the next 10 years. A very low hanging fruit. We already, Shapoorji Pallonji is already there. We are in Brazil. They were there bidding also. So we need to develop that. We need to have that agility in the system. Coming back to your question, what I think my answer to that would be in terms of three C's. In my mind, what I think three C's. So one, there has to be a clear demand. There has to be a forecast for the next 5 to 10 years, and I think there is demand in India. The next C has to be clear specification so that people know what they need to build. The third very important thing in Indian ecosystem is a clear qualification guideline pathway, because certification is a problem, especially offshore. So if we have these three C's, we are good. We'll be very agile as far as the offshore is.
I like the 3C framework, but if I can add a fourth C and maybe bring Anne into it, the confidence in the 3Cs of India to be able to deliver. Anne-Gaëlle, if there's any advice that you give to Indian players, again with capital in their pocket, looking at this sector as a boom sector over the next few years, and the demand certainty that you as a global buyer can provide them to be able to invest, is there any inputs that you'd like to give them, the way you see it globally?
Just to mention, globally, we see some Indian champions, and I think you mentioned some of them, big players that went outside, and they are bringing back, I would say, for India, the skills, the certainty, in a way, in their supply chain, the sustainability of the supply chain as well, to make it quite long lasting. And one element for me, the Prime Minister mentioned it, but the signature yesterday of the trade deal between European Union and India is a key enabler and opportunity to bring certainty, to ask Europe to support India in bringing what you need to develop offshore. Definitely.
No, thanks. And if I can ask one last question, if there was any further ask on policy, Akhil, from your side, what would broadly the theme be in terms of ease of doing business or better enabling this growth?
Okay, difficult question.
I know,
But
tough one.
I'm saying, in terms of ease of doing business, I think one ask can be that we reduce the number of approvals which go into setting up manufacturing setup also today, and also the recurring approvals which come. Can we simplify it as a one time, or the renewal happens automatic? While the government has done a lot on doing it online, but we still face a lot of kind of problems there. I hope that will get resolved soon, kind of. And last thing I want to say is also for manufacturing and advice to people who want to bring manufacturing to India is, can we get technology transfer till we do R&D, kind of. So if that is fast tracking of manufacturing in India.
Understood. No, I thank the panel. We're out of time, but I thank the panel for their very valuable inputs. I think, to summarize, a combination of policy that is enabling growth, global suppliers who are looking at India with interest, and Indian suppliers who are looking to invest and improve their capabilities, I think is the best three axes that can come together to enable us to get a greater share of both the global market as well as the Indian exploration market itself. But I thank you all for your inputs. I thank you for your time, and I truly enjoyed the panel discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.